Rain poured down over the city as neon lights flickered against the glass towers. The alien hospital stood tall and bright, its walls glowing with sterile white light. Inside, alien doctors moved quickly from room to room, their long hands tapping on consoles, their strange eyes scanning data without emotion. On a quiet side corridor, a stretcher was rolled out into the night. On it lay a young alien girl, her skin pale, her breathing shallow. She was small, fragile, and barely clinging to life. The alien doctors stopped at the edge of the platform, looked down at her once, and shook their heads. Unrecoverable, one muttered coldly. Treatment inefficient, another agreed. Resources wasted, a third said. And with that, they turned away, leaving her outside in the rain. The doors slid shut behind them. The hospital's glow faded, leaving the girl alone in the dark. Her shallow breaths echoed against the walls. Her eyes opened faintly, full of fear and pain. No one came. No one cared. But someone was watching. A human man named Daniel stood across the street holding a bag of tools from his late shift at the repair yard. His clothes were soaked, his boots muddy, but his eyes were sharp. He had seen the doctors roll her out. He had seen them leave her. At first, he thought he was mistaken. No hospital would abandon a patient like that. But when the doors closed and the rain kept falling, he realized the truth. They had given up on her. Daniel rushed across the street, kneeling beside the stretcher. The girl's body trembled, her skin cold against his hand. Her lips moved faintly, but no words came. Hey, easy," Daniel whispered, his voice steady. "I've got you. You're not alone." He looked back at the hospital, fury burning in his chest. "They just left you." He knew he couldn't take her inside again. They would refuse her, maybe even throw him out too. But he also knew he couldn't leave her here to die. He lifted her carefully into his arms. She was so light it felt like carrying a child. "Hold on," he said softly. "I'll figure something out." Daniel ran through the rain, his mind racing. Where could he take her? He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a medic. The human clinics in the colony were too far, and she wouldn't survive the trip. Then it hit him. The vet. It was crazy. The vet was meant for animals, not aliens. But right now it was the only place that might try. At least the vet cared. He tightened his grip and pushed forward through the storm. The streets grew darker, the neon signs fewer, until he reached a small building at the edge of the district. Its sign flickered faintly. Dr. Lee, veterinary care. He banged on the door with his free hand. "Doc, open up." After a moment, the door cracked open and a tired woman in a worn coat peered out. "Daniel? It's the middle of the night, what?" Her eyes fell on the alien girl in his arms and her face changed instantly. "Get her inside." Daniel carried the girl to a table as Dr. Lee gathered her tools. "Where did you find her?" she asked, already pulling out scanners and instruments. "Hospital tossed her out," Daniel spat. "Said she wasn't worth saving." Dr. Lee's eyes darkened. "Figures. They only help if the odds are perfect. Anything messy, they throw away." Daniel watched as she worked, patching tubes, checking vitals. The girl's chest rose and fell weakly. Every beep from the monitor made his heart pound. Finally, Dr. Lee looked up. "She's critical but not lost. We'll need to improvise. Some of her organs are close enough to things I've seen before, but others, I'll have to guess. Guess better than they did," Daniel said, his voice low. "Just don't stop trying." Dr. Lee gave him a sharp look. "Trying means no guarantees." "You sure you want this on your hands?" Daniel squeezed the alien girl's hand gently. Her small fingers twitched against his. "She's not leaving this world alone. Not while I'm here." The storm outside grew louder, thunder shaking the windows. Inside, the soft hum of machines filled the silence. Dr. Lee bent over the girl, working quickly while Daniel stood watch, his jaw tight and his heart steady. No matter what happened, he had already made his choice. He would fight for her life, even if no one else would. The rain had slowed outside, but inside the small veterinary clinic, the air was tense. Dr. Lee moved quickly between shelves, pulling down supplies meant for dogs, cats, and farm animals. The alien girl lay motionless on the table, her chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Daniel stood at her side, gripping her hand. She was ice cold, her skin clammy beneath his rough fingers. He had faced broken engines, fire in the yards, even fights with drunken miners, but this was different. This was life, and it was slipping away. Dr. Lee snapped on gloves. Her blood's not like ours. More copper than iron, the machines don't read it properly. Can you still help her? Daniel asked, his voice low and tight. Dr. Lee sighed. I don't know. I'll have to improvise. Vets are trained for multiple species. Doesn't matter if it's a cow, a bird, or a lizard. Biology shares patterns. I'll try to match hers to something close enough. Daniel swallowed hard. Just don't stop trying. The vet gave him a brief look, sharp and steady. I won't. She worked fast, comparing scans to charts, adjusting settings by hand. Tubes were hooked into the girl's arm, delivering fluids mixed with formulas meant for dehydrated animals. The monitor beeped irregularly, sometimes fading until Daniel thought it would stop altogether. Each pause felt like a dagger in his chest. Breathe, he whispered to her. Stay with me. You're not alone anymore. Her fingers twitched faintly. Daniel's heart leapt. Dr. Lee leaned closer. That's a good sign. Reflexes are active. But she's fragile. One mistake and we lose her. Hours dragged by. Daniel barely moved, his eyes fixed on the girl's face. She looked so young, no older than a child by human standards. Her skin shimmered faintly under the light, as if her body wasn't made for this world. At last, the beeping of the monitor steadied, slow but regular. Dr. Lee exhaled in relief. She's stabilizing. For now. Daniel let out a shaky breath, his shoulders sagging. Thank God. But Dr. Lee wasn't done. Her system's failing in ways I've never seen. I can't tell what caused it. Disease, injury, rejection from the hospital's treatment. We're patching holes without knowing the leak. Daniel frowned. Then what do? We keep her alive tonight, Dr. Lee said firmly, and hope her body fights back. Daniel nodded, brushing damp hair from the girl's forehead. She deserves that chance. More than they gave her. The clinic grew quiet except for the hum of machines. Daniel sat on a stool by the table, never letting go of her hand. The storm had passed outside, leaving only silence. After a while, Dr. Lee broke it. You know, you could have walked away. Most people would have. Daniel shook his head. I couldn't. I saw her lying there. Thrown out like trash. No one deserves that. Not human. Not alien. Not anyone. Dr. Lee studied him for a moment. You've got more heart than sense. Maybe, he admitted. But if sense means letting her die, I'll stick with heart. Hours later, as dawn crept through the clinic windows, the girl stirred. Her chest rose deeper, steadier. Her eyelids fluttered open, revealing faintly glowing eyes. They darted around, frightened and confused. Daniel leaned forward quickly, speaking softly. Hey, you're safe. You're not alone anymore. She stared at him, her breathing sharp and fast. Strange sounds escaped her lips, words in a language he didn't understand. Dr. Lee raised her hands calmly. Easy, she doesn't know where she is. Let her see you mean no harm. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. You're safe, he repeated. The girl's breathing slowed. Her glowing eyes fixed on him, uncertain but searching. For a moment she seemed to understand. Not his words, but the warmth behind them. Her lips moved faintly, one word escaping. Daniel didn't understand the language, but he felt its meaning. Why? He smiled sadly. Because you deserve a chance. Her eyes closed again, exhaustion pulling her under. But her grip on his hand didn't loosen. Dr. Lee exhaled, watching the monitor. She might just make it. But this isn't over. If the hospital left her, someone will notice she's gone. And they won't like that you saved her. Daniel nodded grimly. He looked at the fragile girl, then back at the door. Let them come. She's not going back. Morning light spilled across the city as Daniel stepped out of the clinic. His clothes were still damp from the storm and his body ached from a sleepless night. But inside the small building, the alien girl was alive. That was all that mattered. For a brief moment, he allowed himself to breathe. Then he saw them. 2 alien medics in white coats stood across the street. Their long, narrow eyes locked on him as if he were a stain. Behind them, a black vehicle hummed quietly, its insignia gleaming with the hospital's seal. Daniel's chest tightened. They know. One of the medics stepped forward. Human, he said flatly. The patient you took was discharged. She was marked for termination. Return her to us. Termination. Return her to us. Daniel's jaw clenched. Termination? You mean abandonment. You left her to die in the rain. The alien's lips curled in what passed for a sneer. Her case was beyond treatment. It is not our policy to waste resources on the unsalvageable. Your interference is unlawful. Daniel stepped closer, his voice sharp. Unlawful? What's unlawful is throwing a child out like garbage. The medic's eyes narrowed. This is not your concern. Hand her over or consequences will follow. Daniel felt the weight of their words, but something inside him refused to bend. He stood tall, fists clenched. No, she stays. The second medic's gaze flicked past him toward the clinic door. Then you choose rebellion. You and your animal doctor. Daniel's blood boiled, but before he could answer, the clinic door opened. Dr. Lee stepped out, her coat stained with sleepless work. Back off, she said, her voice low but firm. She's stable now, thanks to us. You're not taking her anywhere. The first medic tilted his head. Stable? Impossible. She was beyond recovery. Dr. Lee crossed her arms. Shows what your perfect science missed. Sometimes it's not about efficiency, it's about trying. The aliens exchanged glances. For the first time, Daniel saw uncertainty in their faces, but it didn't last. The medic's voice hardened. The overseer will hear of this. You cannot protect her. Daniel stepped forward until he was inches away. Watch me. The medics hissed quietly, then turned and stepped back into their vehicle. It lifted silently into the sky, vanishing into the clouds. Daniel let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. His hands shook. They'll be back. With more than threats, Dr. Lee nodded grimly. We just declared war on the hospital, and the overseer doesn't forgive rebellion. They went back inside. The alien girl lay on the table, still unconscious but breathing stronger. Her color had returned slightly, her chest rising with more steady rhythm. Daniel sat beside her again, his anger softening as he looked at her. They wanted to give up on you, he whispered. But you're still here. You're stronger than they think. Hours passed. Dr. Lee worked quietly, checking monitors and adjusting fluids. Daniel never left the girl's side. By evening, she stirred again. Her glowing eyes opened, locking on him with faint recognition. She whispered something in her strange tongue, weak but insistent. Daniel leaned closer. I don't understand. But I hear you. Her hand twitched, gripping his finger with surprising strength. Dr. Lee frowned thoughtfully. She's aware now. She knows you. Daniel nodded. Then I'll make sure she knows she's safe. But outside, the city stirred with rumors. Whispers spread of a human who had stolen a patient marked for death. Some laughed, some scoffed, but others whispered that maybe the human had done what the doctors couldn't. By nightfall, lights glowed in the sky. Hospital drones hovered above the district, scanning every street. Dr. Lee cursed under her breath. They're looking for her already. Daniel looked at the girl, then at the door. His jaw set. Let them look. She's not going back. Not ever. The alien girl closed her eyes again, still weak but holding on. And Daniel knew then. Saving her life was only the beginning. The real fight was still coming. The clinic felt smaller with every passing hour. Daniel sat by the girl's side, listening to the steady rhythm of the monitor, but his mind was elsewhere. Outside, the hum of drones was constant, their red lights sweeping across the streets like watchful eyes. Dr. Lee set down a tray of supplies with a sharp clatter. They're circling tighter. I patched into the public channels. Orders came from the overseer himself. They want her back at any cost. Daniel rubbed his temples. Figures. Can't let anyone see they were wrong. Can't admit a human and a vet saved the one they tossed away. Dr. Lee sighed, her shoulders tense. This isn't just about pride. If the overseer takes her, she'll disappear. Quietly, permanently. Daniel glanced at the girl. Her skin had gained a faint glow and her breathing was stronger. But she was still fragile. We can't stay here. Not with every eye in the city looking. Dr. Lee hesitated. You're talking about running. Not running, Daniel said firmly. Protecting her. Finding somewhere they can't reach. Before they could argue more, the clinic's front door rattled. Daniel stiffened, grabbing the nearest wrench. The door slid open with a hiss. 2 soldiers stepped in, their armor black and gleaming, rifles raised. Behind them entered a tall alien figure draped in crimson robes. His face was hidden by a mask of silver and glass. The overseer himself. Dr. Lee froze. Daniel's grip tightened on the wrench. The overseer's voice was calm, almost gentle. Human doctor, you've done something remarkable. Against all reason, the patient lives. Daniel stepped in front of the girl. She's not going back with you. The overseer tilted his head slightly. You misunderstand. I do not wish her return to die. I wish to study her, to understand why she responded to your primitive efforts when advanced medicine failed. Daniel's blood ran cold. Study? You mean dissect, the overseer chuckled softly. Harsh words, but perhaps accurate. Knowledge has a cost. His masked gaze shifted to the girl. Her survival is an anomaly, and anomalies must be controlled. Dr. Lee stepped forward, her hands clenched. She's not a specimen. She's alive, and she deserves a chance. The overseer turned his head toward her, the mask catching the light. You speak of chances. Yet what is she but weakness made flesh? Your compassion blinds you. Daniel's voice sharpened. Maybe compassion is what you're missing. The overseer was silent for a moment. Then he raised one hand and the soldiers leveled their rifles. You will not interfere again. Time slowed. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew he couldn't fight soldiers with a wrench, but he also knew he couldn't stand aside. Before the soldiers could fire, the alien girl stirred. A faint hum filled the room, low but steady, rising from her chest. Her glowing eyes opened, brighter than before. The overseer froze. Impossible. The hum grew stronger, vibrating through the floor. The soldiers staggered, their rifles shaking in their hands. Sparks leapt from their weapons, frying circuits. The girl raised a trembling hand and the hum turned into a pulse. A wave of energy burst outward, knocking the soldiers off their feet. The lights flickered, consoles sparked, and the air vibrated with raw power. Daniel shielded his face from the blast. When it faded, the girl collapsed back onto the table, her strength spent. The overseer's masked face turned toward her, silent for a long moment. Finally, his voice was cold. So that is why. He stepped backward into the shadows. This changes everything. She will be taken, one way or another. With a wave of his hand, the soldiers staggered to their feet and retreated with him. The door hissed shut, leaving the clinic in silence. Daniel dropped the wrench, his chest heaving. She did that. Dr. Lee's eyes were wide. It wasn't medicine that saved her. It was something inside her. Daniel looked at the girl, her chest rising weakly but steady. And now he knows, Dr. Lee nodded grimly. We don't have time. The overseer won't stop. He'll come back with everything he has. Daniel's jaw set. Then we don't wait here for him to come knocking. We move first. He glanced once more at the fragile girl on the table. She had been left to die with nothing. Now she carried something powerful enough to shake the overseer himself. And Daniel knew, no matter the cost, he had to protect her. The clinic was no longer safe. Daniel knew at the moment the overseer's mask turned toward the girl with cold calculation. The tyrant would return, not with words this time, but with fire. Dr. Lee packed hurriedly, shoving tools and vials into a small case. If we're leaving, it has to be now. Once the sun rises fully, the checkpoints will lock down. Daniel lifted the alien girl gently from the table. She was light in his arms, but her faint glow made her stand out like a lantern in the dark. Then we moved before anyone can see. They slipped through the back door into the narrow alleys. The city was waking, the hum of vehicles and chatter of workers rising. Drones buzzed overhead, their red eyes scanning the streets. Daniel pulled his hood low, holding the girl close against his chest. Dr. Lee led the way, keeping to the shadows. There's an old freight line out of the district. If we reach it, we can ride it beyond the city limits. After that, we vanish. They turned a corner and froze. Two soldiers stood blocking the alley, rifles raised. Their armor gleamed black, marked with the overseer's insignia. Stop, one barked. Hand over the patient. Daniel tightened his grip on the girl. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly. He could feel a low vibration in her chest, the same hum from before. No, Daniel said, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his throat. The soldier sneered. Then you die. The rifles powered up, but before they fired, the hum inside the girl pulsed outward. The air vibrated. Sparks leapt from the soldiers' weapons, frying circuits. Their armor lights flickered, and they staggered back in confusion. Dr. Lee didn't hesitate. Go! Daniel sprinted forward, shoving past the stunned soldiers. They crashed into the street, weaving through crowds as shouts rose behind them. Stop them! Through crowds as shouts rose behind them. Stop them! Drones swooped low, scanning with bright beams. Daniel ducked under a market awning, heart racing. The girl clung weakly to him, her glow hidden beneath his coat. Left! Dr. Lee shouted, leading him through twisting alleys. Each turn brought more danger. Sirens wailed, armored vehicles roared, and voices shouted orders in the distance. At last, they reached the freight line, a long stretch of rusted track running between warehouses. A train sat idle, its cargo doors half open. Dr. Lee pointed. There! If we get inside, a plasma bolt struck the ground at her feet, blasting sparks. Soldiers poured from the shadows, rifles aimed. The overseer's voice echoed from speakers overhead, cold and merciless. You cannot run, human. The anomaly belongs to us. Daniel's chest tightened, but he didn't stop. He ran for the train, every muscle burning. A bolt seared past his shoulder, another scorched the ground. He leapt into the open car, pulling the girl close as Dr. Lee scrambled in after him. The train jolted suddenly. Its engines roared to life, gears grinding as it began to move. Someone had triggered it. Whether by chance or fate, Daniel didn't care. They were moving. Soldiers sprinted alongside, trying to climb aboard. Daniel kicked one back, the soldier tumbling onto the tracks. Another lunged for the car, but the girl stirred again, her eyes blazing brighter. A wave of energy pulsed outward. The soldier was thrown violently back, his armor sparking as if struck by lightning. The others staggered, their weapons failing. Daniel stared at her wide-eyed. You saved us again. The girl's voice was faint, broken by exhaustion, but a word escaped her lips in her alien tongue. Daniel didn't know it, yet somehow he felt its meaning. Safe. He pulled her close, whispering fiercely, Yes, you're safe. I'll keep it that way. The train picked up speed, rattling through the city's edge. Soldiers shouted and fired, but their shots fell short. The city lights faded behind them, replaced by the dark stretch of wastelands beyond. Dr. Lee collapsed against the wall of the cargo car, her breath heavy. We bought time, but the overseer won't stop. He'll throw everything after us. Daniel nodded, looking down at the girl's glowing eyes, half closed but still watching him. Then we'll be ready. Whatever she is, whatever's inside her, it's worth more than their cruelty. She's alive. That's all that matters. The train thundered into the night, carrying them away from the city and deeper into danger. The overseer's shadow stretched far, but for the first time Daniel felt hope, because the girl wasn't just surviving. She was fighting. The freight train clattered into the wastelands, its wheels echoing against the steel tracks. When it finally slowed to a stop at an abandoned station, the night was silent except for the distant cry of desert winds. Daniel jumped down first, then carefully lifted the alien girl into his arms. Her body felt warmer now, her breathing steady. She was recovering, though her faint glow still made her look otherworldly. Dr. Lee followed, clutching her small case of supplies. The station was little more than broken walls and rusted beams, a forgotten stop from a time when people still traveled freely, perfect for hiding. Daniel set the girl down on a makeshift cot of old blankets. She opened her eyes, glowing softly in the dim light, and looked at him. She whispered something in her own tongue, gentle, curious. Daniel smiled tiredly. Wish I could understand you. Dr. Lee knelt beside her, running a scanner over her chest. Her vitals are stronger than yesterday. Whatever that energy pulse was, it didn't just knock out soldiers, it jump-started her recovery. Daniel frowned. So it's part of her. Not some accident. Looks that way, Dr. Lee said. She carries something inside her. Something powerful. The girl raised her hand weakly and touched Daniel's wrist. A soft hum vibrated through his skin, warm and steady, like a heartbeat he could feel in his bones. His chest tightened. She's reaching out. Dr. Lee nodded slowly. Bonding. She trusts you. Before Daniel could reply, the faint sound of engines rumbled in the distance. He stiffened, instinctively placing himself between the girl and the noise. Dr. Lee listened carefully. Scouts. The overseer's already sweeping the wastelands. Daniel cursed under his breath. We barely made it out. He's not wasting time. They moved quickly, covering the station's broken windows and dousing the fire. Daniel sat beside the girl again, whispering softly, Stay quiet. We'll keep you safe. The engines grew louder, then faded again, moving past. Silence returned. Daniel exhaled slowly. Too close. Dr. Lee leaned back against the wall, exhaustion in her eyes. We can't keep running forever. We need allies. Who? Daniel asked bitterly. The hospitals? The overseer's soldiers? They'd rather see her dead. Dr. Lee hesitated. Not everyone. There are people out here who've suffered under the overseer's rule. Rebels. Outcasts. If they knew a human saved someone the doctors abandoned, they might stand with us. Daniel looked down at the girl. Her glowing eyes blinked slowly, full of trust. He shook his head. I don't care about rebellion. I care about her. She's what matters, the girl stirred then, whispering again in her alien tongue. Her words were soft but insistent, as if she were trying to tell him something important. Daniel frowned. Doc, can your scanner translate? Dr. Lee adjusted the device, running it over the girl as she spoke. Lines of text flickered across the small screen. Dr. Lee's eyes widened. She's saying, "Chosen, Guardian, danger." Over and over, Daniel blinked. "Guardian?" Dr. Lee nodded slowly. "She's calling you that." The word settled in Daniel's chest like a weight. He had never asked to be anyone's guardian. He was just a mechanic, a man who happened to be in the wrong place at the right time. But when the girl's glowing eyes met his, he couldn't deny it. She had chosen him. Before he could reply, the engines roared again, this time closer. Searchlights swept across the wasteland. Dr. Lee's face hardened. They found the tracks. They'll be here soon. Daniel grabbed his pack and slung it over his shoulder. He lifted the girl into his arms once more. Then we move before they surround us. As they slipped into the shadows of the wasteland, the girl's hum grew stronger against his chest. It wasn't fear. It was strength, as if she were lending him part of herself. For the first time, Daniel didn't just feel like he was protecting her. He felt like they were protecting each other. The wasteland was quiet except for the crunch of Daniel's boots and the low hum of the alien girl against his chest. Dr. Lee walked at his side, scanning the horizon with sharp eyes. The night sky stretched endlessly above them, stars glittering like silent watchers. But the silence didn't last. Engines roared, shattering the stillness. Searchlights cut across the barren ground. Shadows stretched long as armored transports rolled into view, surrounding them in a tightening circle. Dr. Lee muttered a curse. He found us. From the largest transport, the overseer emerged, crimson robes flowing in the desert wind. His silver mask gleamed, reflecting the glow of the girl in Daniel's arms. "You cannot run forever, human," the overseer's voice boomed. "Hand over the anomaly and your death will be swift. Resist and you will suffer." Daniel shifted the girl protectively against his chest. His jaw tightened, but his voice was steady. "She's not an anomaly. She's alive. She deserves more than to be your experiment." The overseer's masked head tilted slightly. "You misunderstand. She is not alive. She is power. A force beyond you, beyond me. Power must be controlled, not cherished." The girl stirred, her glowing eyes opening wide. She whispered something in her own tongue, her voice trembling but defiant. The hum inside her body grew louder, vibrating through Daniel's arms. The overseer's tone hardened. "You see? She destabilizes even now. Give her to me before she destroys you all." Daniel shook his head. "No, she chose me, and I'll protect her no matter what." The overseer raised his hand. Soldiers closed in, rifles humming with deadly charge. Dr. Lee pulled a small blaster from her coat, standing at Daniel's side. "Guess this is it. We make our stand." The first shot rang out. Plasma bolts seared through the air. Daniel ducked behind a rock, shielding the girl. Dr. Lee fired back, taking down one soldier before blasts forced her into cover. But then, the girl sat up in Daniel's arms. Her glow intensified, her body trembling with energy. Her eyes locked on the soldiers, and the hum inside her became a roar. A shockwave burst outward, knocking soldiers sprawling. Rifles shattered, armor cracked, and engines sputtered dead. The overseer staggered but remained standing, his robes whipping in the energy storm. His voice rang out, furious. "You cannot control this. She will consume everything." Daniel held her steady, his voice strong despite the chaos. "She doesn't need control. She needs trust." The girl's glow grew brighter, wrapping around Daniel like a shield. He felt warmth surge through him, strength not his own flowing into his veins. For the first time he understood. She wasn't destroying, she was protecting. The overseer lunged forward, drawing a blade of pure plasma. He charged at Daniel, roaring, "Then both of you will fall together." Daniel braced himself, but before the blade could strike, the girl raised her hand. A blinding wave of light exploded outward, engulfing the overseer. His scream echoed as the energy tore through his armor, cracking the silver mask. For a moment, Daniel saw his true face, twisted with fear and rage. Before the light consumed him, face twisted with fear and rage. Before the light consumed him. When it faded, the overseer lay broken on the ground, his blade extinguished, his robes scorched. The soldiers who remained dropped their weapons, stunned by what they had witnessed. Silence fell over the wasteland. Only the wind moved. The girl's glow dimmed, her small body collapsing into Daniel's arms. She was weak but breathing, alive. Dr. Lee lowered her blaster slowly, her eyes wide. She defeated him. Daniel looked down at the girl, brushing damp hair from her forehead. His voice was soft but certain. No, we did. Together. The soldiers began to retreat, dragging their fallen commander with them. None dared to face the girl again. The overseer's reign was broken, his fear laid bare before all who had seen. Daniel rose, carrying the girl in his arms, her faint glow lighting the path ahead. Dr. Lee walked beside him, exhaustion in every step but a spark of hope in her eyes. "What now?" she asked quietly. Daniel looked toward the horizon where dawn was breaking, painting the wasteland gold. "Now we give her the life they tried to take away. And maybe we show the galaxy that compassion isn't weakness, it's strength." The girl stirred, whispering one word in her alien tongue. The translator on Dr. Lee's scanner beeped softly, showing the meaning. "Guardian." Daniel smiled, holding her close. "Yeah, that's me." Together they walked toward the rising sun, human, doctor, and alien child. Not fugitives anymore, but something more dangerous to the Overseer's empire than any weapon. A family.